On February 13th, the trailer for FNAF 11 Secret of the Mimic released, and it sparked very mixed reactions from the fans and the general public. Once you sort through all the Jackie's Box comments, you find a lot of people saying things like, FNAF needs to end. Where's Freddy Fazbear? This doesn't feel like FNAF anymore. Some people are just done with this franchise, and that's fair, but a lot of other people are upset because they don't know what's going on anymore, or why this game exists. As someone who's been obsessed with this game since it was first announced, when I saw the negative reactions, I wanted to make a video owning the haters and trying to change everyone's minds. But I realized that would have been a huge waste of time and only would have fueled toxicity from both sides, so instead, I'm just gonna share the information that has me so excited for anyone who wants it. If the trailer left you feeling lost, or if you haven't seen the trailer at all, I'm gonna answer 3 questions in this video that should help you get up to speed. Why is this game a super prequel, and why does it take place in this place? What's gonna happen in the game? How is it relevant to the rest of the FNAF lore? Let's start with that first question. Where are we and why are we here? The basic answer to that question is in the trailer. Edwin, the owner of this place, has gone missing, and Fazbear is sending us in to retrieve something that he was making for them. That something is the Mimic, and we know it's gone haywire because we can see in the trailer that it killed the people that Fazbear sent before us and stuffed them into various places like mascot costumes and closets around the manor. Fazbear wants the Mimic because it's the perfect endoskeleton. It can adapt to any costume and learn show routines automatically, which would save them a huge amount of time and money. Unfortunately, those abilities also make our job really difficult because it's in a building full of costumes and it wants to end our life. But what is this building, and what does it have to do with Fazbear Entertainment? When the demo was first unleashed at PAX West, a lot of people described the setting as a toy factory. It's not a toy factory. This game takes place in Murray's Costume Manor, a mascot attraction that doubles as a creature shop, which has made several characters for Fazbear. In an interview with Dawko, Steelwool's creative director Evan Lampe said this about the location.
This isn't a Fazbear-like facility, right? So this is, some of it can be connected and some of it's not, right?
There is something Fazbear going on here though, because of screenshots like this. On top of that, characters like Jackie, this dog, and Dolly clearly have the Funtime faceplate aesthetic. We'll get into the characters in a bit, but first we need to step into the book world for a second. This game draws heavily from the Tales from the Pizzaplex story The Mimic, which is about Edwin Murray making the Mimic and how everything went downhill from there. In the book, Edwin was a single father and the owner of a company that sold practical inventions. He didn't have the time to fully wear both hats, so the business went under and he was forced to sell it to Fazbear Entertainment, who put him to work turning their mascots into animatronics. He built the Mimic to keep his son company while he worked. The Mimic was programmed to copy whatever it saw, and it became David's best friend for life. David was always holding his white tiger toy, so the Mimic was always holding an imaginary tiger. One day, David chased his ball out onto the highway and got hit by a car and tragically died. As Edwin grieved, the Mimic crawled over and asked him for ice cream, exactly how David used to. This was too much for Edwin, so he picked up a metal pipe and beat it until it looked like the late David. So now the Mimic knows how to destroy things, and Edwin disappeared some amount of time later. When Edwin didn't make any of his deadlines, Fazbear sent a team to retrieve their property, and when that team didn't come back, they sent another, and they got the same result. There are meat hooks in Dolly's room. The key difference between the book and the game is that in the book, the Mimic is loose in an old rotting lace factory that Edwin made a few Fazbear animatronics in, and in the game, the Mimic is loose in a well-kept creature shop that makes mascots for all types of different companies. Despite these differences, I'm guessing the Mimic's origin story is largely the same. Edwin built it, it was friends with David, and he accidentally taught it how to hurt people after David died. We also know that Edwin's old appliance company exists in the game timeline because Steelwool has been posting Murray Co. commercials to their YouTube channel. One advertises a coffee maker that watches and learns. The next shows a coat rack that can adjust to fit any type of clothing. The third shows a vacuum cleaner that can fit into any space. The last one isn't out yet as of writing this, but it should be out now, and I'm predicting that it's Mailbot and that he can mimic voices. Let me know if I'm right. So far, each product has an ability that the Mimic endoskeleton has. Many people think this is Edwin trying to go back and revive his old appliance company using the technology he developed for the Mimic. I'm leaning more towards it being the opposite, and that Edwin recycled technology from his old inventions to build the Mimic, and that's why it can do all these things. The important thing is the little vacuum thing is in the game and we can pet it. To recap, Edwin is something of a robotics genius who made some characters for Fazbear and then lost his son, which drove him to beat up a robot and disappear, which made the robot evil. That's why we're here. Fazbear is willing to trade human lives to acquire this technology, and it's our job to bring it home. But how? What's gonna happen in this game? In J-Top's interview with John FNAF, he says that Mexus, the computer that inhibits the Mimic, is specifically made to look old.
That is deliberately supposed to be an older machine.
The Secret of the Mimic Help Wanted 2 update ends with a van driving away with the Mexus computer in the back. A very similar van pulls up to MCM in the Secret of the Mimic trailer, which happens to be set in the oldest point of the timeline, the 70s.
It looks old.
Right, it does.
Looks old.
So we're almost definitely using Mexus to stop the Mimic. Let's look at Helper again. A scene in the trailer shows him at a computer terminal that controls a welcome show, and a screenshot shows Mr. Helpful, the physical version of the same character, in a computer in what looks like the center of the location. In Ruin, Helpy is integrated into the Pizzaplex's system and he's possessed by the Mimic. I think the same is true for Helper in this game, which would explain how the Mimic controls animatronic characters like Jackie and Big Top Man. It's infected the operating system of the entire building. We interact with the computers using a device called the Data Diver, which looks suspiciously similar to the Fazwrench. Since we mentioned that Mr. Helpful screenshot, gang, this game is huge. Don't worry, not security breach huge. Edwin said that the entirety of MCM can fit into Roxy Raceway, and the game is all about small hallways and claustrophobia. I mean that this game is packed. The two doorways in this image imply that there's a themed area full of specifically themed characters behind each one, and there's probably at least one more door. Evan said there are a lot of characters we haven't seen yet, and we've seen a lot in the trailer. We have Jackie, this dog, Gator, Hippo, Happy Frogs, Dolly, the mysterious mustache mole, Big Top Music Man, the elephant, a blue hedgehog, Sharpay the dog, Mr. Helpful, the bee of glee and horror, and more by the looks of these cutouts, and not counting the dead bodies. Oh yeah, we'll probably get to hear audio recordings of the team who died before us because we can faintly hear groans and cries of pain in the background of the Murray's Magic Coat Rack commercial.
The solution is here. Stars and more.
There are also Fredbear's Family Diner posters in the trailer, so we'll probably see mascot versions of Spring Bonnie and Fredbear. Hey, quick update on this. Today, Steelwool sent John FNAF a box full of Secret of the Mimic themed items, and one of them just so happened to be a Spring Bonnie bobblehead. So yeah, we're seeing the Fredbear's animatronics in this game. The books have also repeatedly referred to Sun and Moon as old animatronics, and MatPat pointed out that Eclipse's teeth look almost exactly like the Mimic's teeth, so there's a high chance Eclipse shows up in some way. In the books, Edwin builds animatronic versions of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, and a Fazbear crew later finds mascot versions of them in the facility, so we should see the original gang as well. There are meat hooks in Dolly's room. Evan said that a basic completion run will take 8 to 10 hours, while a 100% run will take 20.
You could probably go 15 to 20 hours, and if you want to be a completionist about it, there's multiple stories and secret passageways and, hidden false walls and stuff like that.
One thing this game should absolutely give us is more insight into how Fazbear Entertainment got started. Their past is definitely intertwined with this company, and oh shoot, I'm getting into the next section. Before the next spirit visits you, remember 2 things. The game probably ends with a fire because several of the teasers end with a burning film reel. Watch out for the jester, and forget the tiger. Everyone knows tigers aren't real. What does this game have to do with the rest of the FNAF lore? As the me of Christmas 5 seconds ago started to say, this game will tell us a lot about the origins of Fazbear, and probably about how Henry and William got together. MatPat has put out multiple theories about how Henry and William could have started out running 2 different Chuck E. Cheese companies, and this game is a perfect place to tell that story if it's a thing. We know that some of these characters are Fazbear owned and some aren't, so it's possible Henry or William started out at one of these joints. But what about modern FNAF lore? Pizzaplex and Har 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 and white women wearing rabbit onesies. What does this have to do with that? I've seen people asking this question and questioning why the game exists, and first of all, that's a weird question, because it's obviously here to help us get acquainted with the Mimic, which is clearly set up to be the next main villain. But if that's not enough for you, there's more. Look at this image. Now look at this image. Peer at this composition. Now this one. Feast your eyes on this. Now this. Do you see a pattern here? There are meat hooks in Dolly's room. It looks like Fazbear rebuilt itself in the Pizzaplex era by reusing the things they acquired or stole from Edwin's old company. It also looks like William used a lot of Edwin's technology to build the Fun Times. This would be a great parallel if the Edwin reused parts from his old products to build the Mimic theory is true. Edwin recycles his old products to build the Mimic, and later on, Fazbear recycles Edwin's old designs to rebuild their company. If Mexus ends up being in the game, which it almost definitely is, we'll learn a lot more about who made it and what its name stands for. This game really does feel like the bedrock that Help Wanted, Ruin, and Help Wanted 2 were built on top of. Security Breach is off somewhere else playing in its own sandbox. If you're still watching, congratulations, you made it to the bonus night. When Daco asked Evan about outside inspirations for the game, he said this.
I really was pulling a lot from Alien Isolation early on. It has some interesting aesthetic tie-ins as well as the gameplay stuff, right? I would look at like environments and tones of like 70s and 80s horror movies, you know, like The Shining or like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and that kind of thing.
The plot of the first two Alien movies, and I'm assuming the game, involves greedy bad guys sacrificing human lives to take a murderous, intelligent monster home with them. The Shining is known for its ornate carpet designs, which Secret of the Mimic clearly drew from that, and Jack Torrance, the guy who gets possessed by the building and goes on a violent spree, was called Jackie by his abusive father in the original book. Here's the van the main characters drive in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Here's the Fazbear Entertainment van from the trailer. Generators are important to Sodom's gameplay, and the characters in TCM go to the evil massacre house because they hear a generator running and they need gasoline. Lastly, and most importantly, someone gets put on a meat hook in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and there are meat hooks in Dolly's room. Huge thank you to my channel members Star Cosmos, Kniferang, Coco, Desperation, Bruh, Tyler Feller, and RNA Vids. I've been Johnny the Night Guard. It's time for me to clock out, and I'll see you on June 13th.